In our series of KOL interviews with Docplexus, we have with us today Dr. G.S. Bhattacharya from Kolkata, who is an eminent medical oncologist and an oncologist, I would say, of international repute. Dr. Bhattacharya has more than 30 years of experience in medical oncology, and presently he is heading the medical oncology department in the Fortis Hospital, Calcutta. And he has a good number of national and international research publications, and he has authored 4 books in oncology. He is a member of many national and international professional associations like ASCO, like ESMO, like Breast International Group, and he is a member of SIOG. He is also a member of SARC Oncology Initiative and many more. He has won many awards and accolades, including prestigious Cambridge Award, and served as a member in the expert panel in oncology for WHO. He is also a member of the Global Cancer Task Force. We are really happy that we have Dr. G.S. Bhattacharya with us today. Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya, for giving your valuable time to us. Dr. Bhattacharya, firstly, I want to know, you are trained and worked both abroad and in India. So what made you pursue your career in your native country while people are looking to go abroad and do their work there?
Anyway, let me start off by saying thank you for asking me to be here. And it's my pleasure to be here and to try and share some of my views in some aspects. So let me start with what you asked me, is that after having spent and been outside India, why am I back to this country practicing medicine? There are 2 reasons for it. One, my mother wanted me back to this country. So after a long stint in England, I came back. That's one. And 2 is, I had done something in childhood for my father, that what you take from the society, try and give it back. And when you give it back, you have to give it back with sincerity and honesty. I think today, on the situation that we are, India needs a lot of us to be here and to handle it and to give it back. Because right now, I would say India is in a transitional phase. It's transiting as an economy, transiting as a global power, transiting as a manufacturing nation, transiting in its health and its health problems, transiting as far as we are concerned in health delivery and health cares.
Okay, so what are the major challenges in oncology practice in developing countries like India?
Okay. The first, the most important thing in any cancer care anywhere in the world, there are 3 challenges. The challenges are accessibility of care, availability of care, and affordability of care. The question is, in a country like India, irrespective of what one may hear, that this committee and that committee says only 30% patients are below BPL. The reality is that if we did a proper analysis, 60% of Indians live below $2 a day. So that is, they cannot afford treatment. Second is, most of our treatments that we have all over India is concentrated in urban areas, the metros, and some of these second-class metros. And in second generation metros that we have, so people have to come a long distance to come. So accessibility is another issue. And then is it available? Even in the best of hospitals of India, exceptions are there. There are very few hospitals that actually measures up to what's happening in the Western world. Majority, we don't have the availability of this care. So these are 3 major challenges that are there. And there's another challenge. And another challenge is myths that rule India as far as cancer is concerned. And the lack of awareness and the lack of education regarding this disease.
Okay, so you have done an extensive research in targeted therapy and reduced dosing of chemotherapy. You are also a pioneering researcher for metronomic dosing in cancer chemotherapy. So can you say brief about that innovation and its present status of implementation in the treatment?
Okay, so yes, I have done a lot of work with targeted therapy. Some targeted therapies are affordable because generic drugs have come up for that in India. So that's one thing that India has to offer to the world, is developing good quality generic drugs. But then also that falls out of the reach, as I said, of those or 60% who live below $2 a day. So we have to think of even cheaper methods of doing things. And those cheaper methods of doing things, for example, you have to think in terms of repurposing of drugs. That is, teaching drugs used for other disorders how to use them in treatment of cancer. So one of the things that we worked with basically is use a combination of a common drug like a beta blocker with that of a COX-2 inhibitor, which is used for painkillers, in a combination to use it with cancer and to make standard cancer drugs more effective. That's led into a FDA USA government's approval as orphan drugs. And we have it actually in 3 states where we have been able to do this, basically repurposing of drugs. We have done this for pancreatic cancers, we have done them for liver cancers, and we have done them for glioblastoma. And theoretically, and just putting it very simplistically, is that we have been able to improve the standard of care outcomes by almost double. That is, if in a pancreatic cancer, the median survival time was 8 months, we have been able to combine it with these repurposed drugs and make it into something like, say, 17 months. Then comes our metronomic therapy. See, the concept of metronomic therapy is to give small regular doses over a long period of time. So the drug works in a particular manner without having too much of side effects. Metronomic therapy may be a way forward in these countries where we have actually a lack of resources, or the low middle income group countries, where we give low doses of drugs over a prolonged period of time. We have had some success. We had some things which I personally have been involved in, basically in metastatic breast cancer. We have some very good results. We have some very good results even in lung cancer, which has taken place with this metronomic therapy. So these are alternatives, cheaper methods. Now you need to have big clinical trials to prove this data. Unfortunately, we will never find us or fund us for these trials because these trials will not pay anyone back. These are generic drugs. These are cheap drugs. They're freely available. So one does not want to do trials with that. So we have to do our own trials, or do what the government of USA did, which fortunately we have not been able to do it in India, is to take these trials and say that these are orphan drugs and they can be used in these conditions under these restricted things. So I think one of those way forwards may be this way that we can do it. So that is what I think is extremely important for us today. I do not like the term reduced dose chemotherapy. Chemotherapy cannot have reduced dose. You either have standard dose or you don't have standard dose. So if you give standard dose chemotherapy, you have sets of results. We also have problems with them, and the entire use of repurposing of drugs and metronomic is to bring down the problems that we have with chemotherapy.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And the whole world is now talking about diagnostic innovation like liquid biopsy. So what is the prospect of this diagnostic tool?
It has got its own application. And when we talk about applications, we have to actually be very careful. Some of them which have the science behind it established and they can be used. Yes, there are indications for that. There are some of them which are evolving and can have a major impact, right? And some of them which are still far to be used. We cannot jump onto the bandwagon that every patient should have a liquid biopsy. Some patients require it. We should be doing it case-to-case basis, whoever can afford it. Because that is going to make a lot of difference in issues. Because what happens with liquid biopsy is that you can avoid a biopsy. And biopsies are some sort of interventions which have its own dangers, which have its own problems, but they have their own advantages. Similarly, a liquid biopsy has its own advantages, but doesn't allow you to actually go ahead and touch the tumor directly. This may be of a help as far as India is concerned, or Indian psychology is concerned, is because in rural India, or even in urban India, people have a psychology that if you biopsy a tumor, the tumor will start growing. So, you have an alternate in the day liquid biopsies actually are in a stage to replace standard biopsies. We would actually possibly switch over to liquid biopsy as far as India is concerned.
So, in India, it is being implementing widely? What is the status?
Well, in India, I would say that it's a case-to-case basis. You cannot do it, across the board. First, they are expensive tests. Two is some of these tests have to be validated, right? We have to find its utility and then we can do it. But there is no that every patient has to have it, every patient should do it, which is not right.
Okay, thank you, sir. And another thing, that is end-of-life care and discussion with the cancer patient is an important part of the palliative care. So do you think the Indian doctors give this end-of-life discussion due importance in India?
I mean, okay, let me put it this way. We Indians are now making a big breakthrough. If you're watching the newspaper just the other day, is the requirement that has come that every doctor has to discuss with the patient for the organ donation at the end of stage of life. So that's something that is important at the beginning of it. You have to understand that the concept of palliative care are two. One is palliative care during normal, because the word palliation means taking care of symptoms. So even if you're doing a curative care, palliative care is there. And there is one set of palliative care where you're doing when the standard treatments are not available, standard treatments are failed and patient is in the terminal part. So that terminal part is end-of-life care or hospice. We still have not caught up with it. There are some hospitals, possibly more of some centers where we are now having people coming in where end-of-life care seems to be picking up. More than in the field of oncology, where oncology end-of-life care almost seems to be fatalistic, that just when you tell the patient, we can't do anything anymore. But I see a lot of end-of-life care actually these days from the intensive care specialists. They tend to tell the patient party it's not worth doing it, shift the patient to a single room so that you all can stay with the patient and for the end of life. So I'm seeing this, and I think this is a place where our critical care colleagues have taken a big step forward and have moved ahead.
Okay, sir. So, sir, oncology is a therapeutic area which is evolving at an amazing pace. So, having a monumental experience in oncology, can you please refer some of the path-breaking improvement in this field in past few years, or something in future that is coming up?
Okay. When I started with cancer, as far as the globe is concerned, we would say 20% patients are curable. Okay. Today, globally, we say more than 50%, 60% patients are curable. In India today, 35% patients are curable. The best example for this is actually in two places. One is in a disease called Hodgkin's disease. The other is acute leukemia in children. When I started, the cure rate in acute leukemia were around about 25 or 30%. Today, in acute children, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, cure rates are 80% plus. That's a huge change that's come through. That's the first change. Yes. The second change that I can talk to is about Hodgkin's disease. Now, we are seeing, as far the thing that's happening right now, is certain disruptive changes. And I say disruptive is because they're changing the whole game plan. They're all game changers right now, what's happening. So one of the biggest game changer is the IT, information technology. Because what's happened with the information technology is we are now being able to handle big data, analyze big data. So all patients' data is getting electronically formalized. So there comes an important question of protecting patients' individuality, protecting patients from harm, from getting public known. So that's one thing, is the big data thing. Second is the development of the genomics that's coming up, or what everyone's talking about is the omics that are there. It's just not genomics. It's all the looking at the various things that the tumor goes through. So when we talk about this, when the tumor genomics is, it's creating a huge amount of data. Now, integrating this data and handling this data is the third thing. And the third thing that actually comes up in a major way is personalized care, where every patient requires to be treated as an individual, so that you have a specific treatment for everyone. And finally is to do a medicine which is called the P4 medicine, or what's called precision medicine. So precision medicine actually is not a single word. I think so throughout this conference I will be hearing a term called precision medicine, which has not been defined, but precision medicine is basically a personalized, predictive, so it's personalized for the patient. It's predictive whether the patient is going to be able to take the therapy, and if he takes the therapy, what's going to be the outcome. It is participatory, where the patient participates, so it becomes patient-centric treatment, and then is preventive. This last term is something that we as doctors have not been too used to talking very often to our patients as preventive as an individual and prevention to the society. So this now is a time when it's coming that we have started looking at diseases, not just as diseases, but a concept of wellness being disrupted. So we're trying to see how to improve wellness. That is the basis of personalized medicine and precision medicine.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya, for your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you.
My pleasure.
To stay updated on our latest KOL videos and interviews, please subscribe our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Happy Docplexing.